Hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes, and this is the Daily Brief. So we're going to start with the losses of the occupiers in Ukraine. 710 4 tanks, 18 armored vehicles. It's actually kind of a light day compared to the last 3 months. That doesn't mean it's light, but comparatively it's slower on the front line. What's not slower is Russia's barbarity against Ukraine. The Russian army launched 3 missile strikes on Chernihiv. Governor said there are civilians killed and many injured. Rescuers and medics are working now. Yeah, so they attacked like residential buildings, hotel, hospital, educational facility. That's really what they went after. Russia continues to pound Ukrainian cities starved for air defense. The country's top officials intensified their pleas for international support, saying devastation could have been avoided. But again, Russia has no qualms about going after civilians here. There's no military target anywhere near here. Here's just another picture of the same thing. And it, I can't understand where the world's outrage has gone. Another picture of the same. Okay. Meanwhile, Ukraine is busy striking at military targets. GRU drones reportedly attacked an aircraft factory in Tartustan this morning. The target was a factory in Kazan where Russia manufactures and repairs two 22M and two 160 bombers. So that's a legitimate target by any means, any way that you could cut it. There's a picture of something, some kind of cloud going up after the attack. Now, this night, there was also a missile attack on the Russian airbase in Dzhankoy, Crimea. Forgive my pronunciation. Russian media claims that 7 to 8 ballistic missiles were launched during the attack, and so they were attacking this in Crimea. Well, what's in Crimea? Here, it's Dzhankoy Airbase is located 145 kilometers from the front line. It was actively used by Russians as a helicopter base. On the 9th of March 2024, or 9 March 2024, there were this is what we knew at that time. There were 10 of this type and 2 of that type and 4 of this type, as well as S-400 air defense systems. And there's an outlay of what the airbase looked like. Additional footage of the results of the missile strikes on the airbase. NASA firms shows approximate fire locations on the airbase as well, so you can see like what they were targeting. Debris of one of the missiles which was used during the strikes. You can see that here. It was published from a Russian source. And then again, the helicopters that survived are being relocated. And this is a picture from regarding the strike. As the first footage of the aftermath of the attack, destroyed Russian S-400. So we have some footage of that. Okay, so, but if you're going to relocate, don't relocate to here, to Kryazh Airfield in Russia. M8 helicopter was destroyed at the Kryazh Airfield in the city of Samara. The GRU reports. Okay, well, where's Samara? You learn a lot about geography doing this, I can tell you. Samara is way out here. I was like, that doesn't sound like familiar here. Okay, here's Moscow. Here's Ukraine all the way over here. Here's Samara. So only one helicopter was destroyed, and that makes sense because it was quite a ways away. Okay. In the meantime, Russia, you know how they like to parade out their tanks during the big parade and look how proud we are. Well, now they're putting tin roofs, well, not tin necessarily, but some kind of like metal over their tanks so that drones don't get them. But so they call them the turtle tank. But drones can still get through, generally speaking. And here is footage of and I'm not going to show you the video. But if we start the video here, I stopped it right here where the drone is targeting right in the center of that hole where that grenade or whatever will go through and blow up the tank. I'm not showing that. I'll post that video below if anybody wants to see how accurate these drones can be, even in spite of having this tin roof that things should fall off of. Okay, in Scranton, aging U.S. factory makes shells for Ukraine. It's almost mind-boggling that we're actually still in this place. The Scranton Army Ammunition Plant is making steel tubes for 155 millimeter caliber shells, which are crucial to Kyiv's efforts to face down Moscow's invasion. they don't make enough of them. And they do these, like this guy's working on this by hand, right? The tubes are then sent to Iowa where they're loaded with explosives. The fuses are installed in the field for security reasons. The site, initially built in 1908 to construct and maintain steam locomotives, started its new life as a munitions factory purchased by the U.S. government in 1953, and they haven't really updated ever since then. The buildings listed on the National Register of Historic Places are hardly the picture of 21st century high-tech efficiency. There is no computer-aided automation production here. AI, forget about it. The red-hot steel tubes just formed in 3 successive forges are cooling for 3 hours in racks hanging from a conveyor belt in the factory's basement before the next phase of production. Like, that's how we're making this. And this is just like, if the West just had the will to make, like, let's go back to what we saw here, okay? Russia continues to pound Ukrainian cities, starve for air defense. The country's top officials intensified pleas for international support, saying the devastation could have been avoided. It really could have been avoided, but the West just doesn't seem to have the will in order to avoid it. And we're doing stupid stuff like still providing artillery from these like handmade factories. It's just, that's pretty ugly. Okay. Denmark, meanwhile, is announcing the 17th military aid package for Ukraine, valued at approximately 2.2 billion kroner. Now, kroners to euros, it's going or dollars is going to be that's roughly 313 million. But still, it's nothing to turn your nose at. Europe is continuing to step up, and they're doing it now in a meaningful way. Okay, last story. There's been a long list of people that have been coming to visit Trump. So we remember Orban going to visit Trump. We just saw last week David Cameron coming to visit Trump. And it's a weird kind of thing because Trump's not in power, but people are still making their way to go visit him, well, to meet with him or to lobby him to do this or to do that when he comes to power. The latest in this long list is Trump is to meet with the Polish president Duda as NATO leaders call for additional support to Ukraine. Now, Duda himself told reporters before he departed Warsaw for New York on Tuesday that he hoped to meet with Trump socially if arrangements worked out. So it's not a formal visit. It's not like a state visit or something along those lines. Duda has long expressed admiration for Trump, at one point suggesting that a U.S. base in Poland could be named Fort Trump, although that never actually happened. Duda was in close re-election race in 2020. President Trump hosted him at the White House, giving him a boost in the country that's one of America's staunchest allies. So the hope is that he could actually have some kind of impact in changing Trump's mind, moving him the right direction toward unlocking aid for Ukraine. Duda is a right-wing populist whose term ends in 2025. And I find it fascinating that right-wing politicians in some other countries can actually be very pro-Ukraine, where in the United States, the MAGA populism is so against it. Like, so the right wing in Britain is all in for Ukraine. And I wish that was the case here. Tusk said that a possible victory of President Trump would probably not be beneficial for the security of Europe or NATO, noting that almost every speech of President Trump very clearly shows his anti-Ukrainian sentiment and a pro-Russian attitude. I think that's a fair position. Could he do something different? Possibly, but he seems to be signaling he's not a friend of Ukraine. But if Duda actually meets with Mr. Trump, we would expect him to raise the issue of clearly siding with the Western world, democracy, and Europe in this Ukrainian-Russian conflict, Tusk added. Okay, so that's all that I have. We'll see if anything comes of it. Maybe Duda can have some kind of influence, but we thought that with Cameron, we thought that with Boris Johnson, and I wish him well. All right, that's all that I have. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.